party. Gene is here, who is their leader. We really appreciate their support and guidance in this endeavor. And I'd also like to especially thank our candidates for coming, especially folks that drove over here from other parts of the state. The Young Democrats of Iredell County was formed about 3 months ago, so we are just getting off the ground and having a very good time. So we put this forum together. We really just wanted to give the Democratic candidates an opportunity to get their message out early during this exciting primary season. And just to go over the format of the forum that we have tonight, we're going to give each candidate a little bit of time for an opening statement, a couple minutes. Following that opening statement, we're going to have our panel, which is seated down front here at the table, ask a couple questions, maybe 2 or 3 questions. And we also might have time, we've got a box in the back for questions, if anybody has dropped a question in there. We also fielded some questions online, so if we've got time for that, we're going to try to fit a couple of those in. To introduce our panel, I don't know if y'all have room to stand up. But by the way, sorry for things being cramped in here. We ended up with a bigger crowd than we anticipated, which is a good thing. First off, we've got Nicole Jacobs, who is the fearless leader and the president of YDIC. She's a resident of Mooresville. She is really wholly responsible for putting this whole thing together. She got the ball rolling on it. She got the YDIC started for us. She's just been fantastic. We've got Sean Eccles. He's the vice president of YDIC. He's a resident of Troutman. He's a former candidate for Iredell Soil and Water Commission, and he's also run for alderman in Troutman. And next go round, he's going to be successful. We've also got Colin Crowd. He's the secretary. He's the secretary of the Mooresville High School Team Democrats, and at Mooresville High, he's a senior. And I'd like to invite Colin up. He's going to share just a few thoughts with us before we get started.
Thank you, Gary. So my parents are not here tonight. In fact, if there was a GOP equivalent of our forum tonight, that's exactly where they would be. My point to you is that I'm here on my own accord. I want to be here. Democratic policies matter to me, and democratic policies matter because it is our responsibility to give a voice to those who are voiceless. It is our responsibility to champion for equal opportunity. It is our responsibility to ensure a safe world for future generations. And this matters to the young Democrats just as much as it matters to the senior Democrats and everyone few and far between. It matters to us because we are now preparing the world that we will hand off to another generation. It matters to us because we are preparing the world that we will be known for. Nelson Mandela once said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." To me, education is important. As the price of college tuition is rising, we have to maintain the accessibility of an education for all. I work 2 jobs and attend high school. In the morning, you'll find me up at the Human Bean making coffee. During the day, you'll see me at Mooresville High School taking all 4 AP classes. Thereafter, you'll see me on the back of a lawnmower mowing someone's lawn. I've done all this to prepare for the cost of an education. But what if I and my peers didn't have to do this? What if we could focus on our minds and the content of our education rather than the cost? Tonight, we will hear from many candidates, some running for a statewide election, some for a county, all with the power to change. Our first candidates for the night are Kevin Griffin and Chris Ray for United States Senate. They both have 3 minutes to give a brief introduction, which will be followed by 3 questions from our panelists. Chris Ray, if you could please come up.
Somewhere in there will be just fine.
Wait, Chris. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm sure that I'm not in here by myself. All right, thank you so very much to the Young Democrats of Iredell County. Thank you so much for extending the invitation for me to be here again with you all. I had the privilege to be here in your county convention, I think it was last year. Things move so fast. And I remember there was a group of folks who were saying that I needed to run for higher office, and I said I would never do it, and clearly I learned now never to say never. But I'm very glad to be here. You know, growing up, my grandmother who raised me, and when I say my grandmother raised me, I mean she raised me from when I was 1 to the day I walked out of our house at 18 years old. My grandmother told me 3 things. She said that number one, my grandmother said that I could be anything I put my mind to. And so she said that, you know, but in order to do that, you got to do 3 things. You first got to put God first. Number 2, you have to work really hard. And number 3, you got to walk through the doors that God opens for you, not the doors that you open for yourself. So I was a track and field All-American. I went to East Carolina University. I enlisted into the United States Army. I was commissioned a 2nd lieutenant into the Army, into the Signal Corps. I was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, was awarded a Bronze Star. Had the ability to work with John Lewis on Capitol Hill. Attended William & Mary School of Law, where I graduated in 2010. I worked for the federal government as a cybersecurity policy director for 4.5 years. I started my own company, consulting small businesses and nonprofit organizations. Came home to the community that raised me and ran for mayor against a 30-year incumbent that they told me I could never beat. And we won with 76% of the vote in 2011. Left all of that and decided to run a nonprofit that coordinates health care for the uninsured population in my county. Those individuals who are too poor to buy private insurance, but not poor enough to get access to Medicaid. So I share all that with you, number 1, to say that my grandma said I could be anything I put my mind to, but also number 2, that I'm qualified to be the next United States Senator from North Carolina. My decision to run for the U.S. Senate was very simple. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was sick and tired of the fact that you have an economy that's not fair for everybody. I'm sick and tired of there being a criminal justice system that's not fair for everyone. I'm sick and tired of there being college affordability going through the roof and it's not affordable for everyone. I was sick and tired of knowing that there's not equal pay for women. I have 2 daughters, and I know that if you're getting paid 75 cents to the dollar, I know that when they go to the store, they're asking them for the whole dollar, not just 75 cents. And so that was important to me. I'm running for the United States Senate because it's plain and simple to me that we need a voice in Washington, D.C. that represents everybody. Now, just like this young man here, I work 3 jobs. I'm the mayor of my city, I'm still in the National Guard, and I'm the executive director of a not-for-profit. I wake up every day and I work my butt off to take care of my family. And then I have a great group of volunteers that are working to make sure that we run this campaign. And I get on the road at night and I travel around the state and I campaign. Because I don't have the luxury to campaign all day long because I'm a working man. And this perspective is missing from Washington, D.C. So I've decided to do this because I want to make sure that everybody's voice, everyone's voice is represented. Now, this year we got to be strategic, Democrats. Number 1, we need a ticket that represents all of North Carolina. Number 1. And then number 2, we want to be able to put the right ticket in front of North Carolina. There has to be a different kind of energy that we're going to need if we're going to bring this thing home. And we need to be able to put the right candidates on the ballot that's going to make this happen. Now, I got a whole lot of energy because I care about people, because I don't know any other way but how to serve people. I have spent my entire adult life serving people, from the military to the federal government to coming home to my community, running for mayor, to running a nonprofit right now. So I don't know any other way but to serve people. And so I'm asking you on March 15th to give me an opportunity, to give me a shot. And I promise you that if I'm your nominee for the United States Senate, I will take it to Richard Burr all day, every day. Because that's what we need to do in order to make this happen. But what I'm excited about is that this campaign is not only going to help bring us across the finish line, but it's going to help a whole lot of other individuals, a whole lot of other tickets, a whole lot of other positions that's going to be needed. We need some good people in Raleigh as well. The governor that we have, or we definitely know he needs to go, but the governor that we're going to have, that we're going to replace them with, will be the most vetoing governor in the history of North Carolina if we don't give them a General Assembly to work with them. And so I'm asking you to be smart and make sure that we put the right ticket in place. Thank you all so much for this opportunity. I look forward to your questions. Thank you again for the invitation. God bless.
Kevin, if you want to come on up. Sure. In 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Wow, I'm gonna have to drone on for a couple.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, you borrow mine.
My name's Kevin Griffin, and I am running for the United States Senate. Why is that important? First off, it's the Senate. Second off, I have never run for anything before in my life except maybe my mother's chicken casserole. It's amazing. What does that mean? It means I bring an absolutely new perspective. It's a great approach from someone who has seen how things have worked from the outside, who has grown up under that system and has the motivation to change. Everybody takes a different path in life. Chris went through his grandmother's. He came up here on I-40 probably. I did too. But mine started with parents that were teachers, working in the public school system, trying to develop our youth into the greatest force of thought, of strength in the world, of leadership. And the most frustrating thing about that is, after 20 years of service, my father had to quit teaching so that he could start a business to make enough money to send his 2 sons to college. We went different paths. My brother went to Chapel Hill, went to UNC Greensboro. But as we came together afterwards, we started working in the employment industry. And for the last 20 years, the only thing that I've done is put people in jobs. Now think about that. All I've ever done is put people to work. What is one of the greatest problems facing us today? It's getting people to work. How do we go about that? Well, we have great ideas for great programs. And I think we're going to go into the questions. I'm going to get into the specifics. But other things that you're going to notice about what's different when you ask a question, you're going to get a yes or a no. You're going to hear what I believe. It's not going to be the rhetoric of, I'll fight for you. Frankly, that's crap. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do. Because although people who have the history of politics like to stay in politics, and a lot of politicians, no offense, Chris, are attorneys, attorneys are trained to argue. That's the whole point. Business people are trained to get things done. What has happened in DC to get something done in the last 8, 10, 12, or in Richard Burr's case, 22 years in DC? So yes, we have to be strategic about our ticket. We have to put somebody in place who can challenge Richard Burr, who can be that strong voice, who can be something different that can bring people to the polls, that can listen to them and understand what's important, and then provide straight, concrete answers and plans for moving forward. One of the things that you'll notice, go to my website, you'll see policies out there, you'll see my beliefs out there. And within a day or so of this meeting, you'll see all the notes about what we talk about tonight, because I want you to know that I'm hearing it, that your voice is important, and having somebody that can represent your voice is the purpose of your vote. Use it wisely. Now, Chris is an excellent candidate. If Chris wins, he will represent us well. Deborah Ross is an excellent candidate. If somehow she wins, she would represent us well. But they come from the political background and approach, something that doesn't work right now. I am the outsider, absolutely. I love it because people don't know how to take me, but they have to listen to me. And that's what it's all about, is how we listen to each other. My name's Kevin Griffin. I would appreciate your vote on March 15th. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Mr. Ray, as you know, something that is very important to my age group is college affordability. What is your plan for action regarding rising costs of tuition?
Let me first, quick question. I want to make sure that we all know that the majority of the framers of the Constitution were lawyers. Just want to make sure I put that out there. Thank God for them. And some of them were businessmen too. So we appreciate that. College affordability, yes, is very, very important. And one of the challenges that we're facing right now in the country is individuals having the ability to have access. So what does that look like? And I know that there are a lot of different plans and a lot of different rhetoric that's out there about making college, two-year colleges free, and also looking at other ways on how do we actually make the cost of college. You can make tuition one thing, but what about the fees and all the things that come along with that is some of the things that we have to look at. Now, one of the things that we have to remember is that when you send someone to represent you in the body, like Congress, I can sit here and I can tell you that I'm going to do all I can to make college free, two-year college is free. But that's not true. It doesn't work like that. What's going to happen is that I'm going to have to be able to be a consensus builder. Someone who has a record of working with individuals, not only just across the aisle, but some folks actually in your own party. So when we talk about making college affordable and college free, it's making sure that you have someone, number one, who understands that you have individuals in our country that is struggling, that has not, let me back up, individuals that are in our country that don't have the ability to get access to college because of the way the institution is. So what you're going to want to do is be able to have someone who's going to be standing on the floor that's going to be able to continue to raise the issue, but be able to be working with individuals on how we're going to make this happen. There are some challenges that we have with our college. We have individuals who are graduating from high school and not having the ability to get access. And one of the issues is as I work with Fayetteville Technical Community College and being able to have access to those individuals, allowing them to have access to college. The programs that the high schoolers are doing in school are one of the things that we're not having across the country. That's what I wanted to say. Couldn't get it out there, I'm sorry. A lot of high school students who are enrolled in two-year colleges, you have that program is not happening across the country. That's helping a lot of families. So one of the things that I'm going to want to do is be able to have those individuals, have those types of programs that are going to be impacted across the country and not just here in North Carolina, because those are good programs. You have some states that don't have college access at all. Those are some of the ways that I would be fighting for if having the opportunity to be in Washington, D.C. And I'll stop there because I think I'm my time. Sorry.
Same question. I'm assuming, switch up a little bit. No.
Same question.
What is your plan for action regarding Vice Policy Commission?
Well, I believe Chris is absolutely right. It takes someone who can go to Washington and actually get things done. Here come the specifics. Item number one to push for is that Pell Grants are indexed to the Consumer Price Index, so that as our cost of living as individuals go up, so do the funds that are available for those students that are going to college. That's number one. Number two, I think that it is unconscionable that the United States government sees student loans as a profit center. What I want to do is to encourage graduation and eliminate the profit taking. So how do we do that together? The program that I'm putting forward is that tuition loans will be made out at the market rate, and they will stay at the market rate until you graduate. The moment you graduate, are employed, and sign up to have deductions from your payroll, your interest rate goes to 0. Now think about that. What's the incentive there? The faster I get out, the faster I get to work, the faster I make a difference in my community, it comes right back to me. It's cheaper. I get to live. That's the incentive that I want to give to people. Yes, it would be great to make all of college free. That takes a different mindset. That takes tax money. Adjusting interest rates when people achieve greatness, having graduated from whatever their chosen program is, that's a reward that is just the denial of income. Something that we shouldn't be making anyway, because it's on the backs of the people who can't afford it the most. So, yes, it has to be made affordable. Yes, you have to take concrete steps. Pell Grants, tuition rewards for graduation are absolutely the 2 steps that I would be choosing. Thank you.
now have a question from the audience.
Chris, my name's Ryan Ford, and first I want to tell you that I appreciate your service. Thank you. Also, I served 2 tours in Iraq for OIF 3 and OIF 5, and so, Anbar province?
Down the green zone.
Yeah. I heard about that.
I made it out. Go ahead.
So, my question is actually on that subject. As you know, transitioning from the military is extremely hard. We're trained to adapt and overcome, and we're trained to the finest detail when we get over there. But when we get out, unless you have enough leave and earning statement LES saved up, you're kind of just pushed out of the gates and asked or given the best of luck in your endeavors. So what would you do to support that transition in Veterans Affairs so that when we get out, we have an opportunity to continue to make money and keep that schedule going?
Sure. Let me tell you what I have done already. As the mayor of Spring Lake, which is right next to Fort Bragg, I have the ability to work with a lot of soldiers that are transitioning out of the military. And we have a program in the town of Spring Lake where we've partnered with, it's called RJT Training, which that organization works with the individuals who are ACAPing, the individuals who are getting out. We identify those individuals before they are getting ready to transition out. And they give us a list of who some of those soldiers are. And what we do is we work with those folks to not only with what Fort Bragg is doing with them, but also what they should be doing in the private sector. Because you have a lot of soldiers who, as you know, that they don't take advantage of the programs that the military is providing for them as they're transitioning out. But what we do is we reach out to those individuals prior to that time period and sit down with them and look at what their long-term plan on the sign there. What their long-term plan is for them transitioning out. What we've realized is in a state that has almost 1 million veterans, you have a state that has almost 1 million veterans. What you don't have is a lot of communities that have those transition programs. So a lot of these soldiers, once they get out, they leave and they go back to their communities, and those communities do not have those programs for them because 3-4 months after you realize you're out, you wake up and you realize, man, I actually didn't have a plan. And so what I would like to do is working with the Veterans Affairs Department is making sure that there is more funding available for more of these communities that want to implement these transition programs. And it's been working very well for us because of our proximity to Fort Bragg, but I know that there are communities in North Carolina who don't have those types of programs. And a lot of folks leave and go back to wherever they were coming from, wherever they entered into the military. And so one of the challenges that I've noticed with a lot of those individuals is they don't have that access. And so I would fight to make sure that there is resources in place, not only just for individuals who are transitioning out, but also for their spouses as well. Huge challenge and huge issues that we have in the military. And so there isn't enough resources for a lot of our families that are getting out. You know, people don't realize that PTSD doesn't just only impact the soldier member. PTSD also impacts their children, kids who are going through the anxiety of their parents leaving. And there aren't enough resources in place to be able to help those transitioning out or help some of those families while the soldier's getting ready to transition out as well. And so I would be working very hard on with the veterans community to be able to make that happen.
Mr. Griffin will ask you the same question.
Absolutely. The last 20 years of my life have been about putting people to work. One of the great things that we do with that is work with the programs like Hiring Our Heroes, which is focused on placing out people who have come out of the military and trying to find them gainful employment. That is a great program, but the piece that's lacking is, as Chris said, that transition. It's that training. It's taking someone who understands all of the military acronyms and giving them the tools and resources to be able to translate that into civilian speak. That is a great hurdle in putting people to work. I've seen it directly. So we have to address that. So the specific program that I want to put in place is to take the GI Bill, something that's already there, that's providing great educational opportunities. I'm assuming you went to William & Mary on that, right? You've got the GI Bill. You've got all of this money that's there that's already dedicated to our soldiers. Well, what if you don't want to go to college? What if you want to join the workforce? Do you just lose that? That's not fair. What I want to do is to create internship programs where someone who is still on active duty can spend their last 3 or 6 months actually working with employers in the local areas around the bases. They're still paid, they still have their military responsibilities. They're working with the employers on an unpaid basis because the government's already picking that up. But they get 3 or 6 months worth of on-the-job training in the position. Now that's step 1. Step 2, once they rotate out, I want them to be able to keep that job. That's where our GI Bill money comes in. 6 months worth of employment, so the person can have up to a full year that a company doesn't have to pay for, that's funded through the GI Bill that's already in place, provides low-cost labor to the employers. It virtually eliminates the training cost. It creates a 1-year transition program for all of our veterans. We don't have to raise a single dollar of taxes to pay for it. And think about the effect on the economy in that local community. If you have a business and you can get a year's worth of bringing people up to speed, training them on how to work in your business, wouldn't you want to do it where you can get that at low or no cost? That is how we take a program that's great, we make it better, and we do it for the benefit of our people, the people who care for us. Thank you.
Just really quickly, I just want to two things that was mentioned there, and so as we continue to go back and forth with this, we want to make sure that now we have to make sure that we know that everyone doesn't get the GI Bill. That's the first thing. So that's important. But then also too, we have to remember that, especially when it's the up tempo, when a soldier's getting ready to transition out of the military, especially for some of my veterans in here who would know this, you're sometimes working right out the door. And so until there are fixes at the DOD level to allow for us the opportunity to be able to make sure that the soldier gets that time, that's going to be difficult to be done. And so we want to make sure that that's the kind of things that it briefs well, but we got to make sure that you got to know that that's not really what's happening right now, and that's going to be one of the challenges to a program like that.
Kevin, we'll give you about 30 seconds to
Yeah,
respond.
it's exactly. Everything requires change. It requires effort. But we have a program in place. Yes, not everybody gets the GI Bill right now, but it is an option for almost everybody coming in. It's already in place. Let's just turn it on and make it useful.
Okay, guys, thank you very much.